Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Affiliate Nerd Out special deep dive webinar edition. This is the true cost of affiliate marketing, what it really takes to win. I am Dustin House. Spread that good word about affiliate marketing. I am the affiliate marketing concierge, and I will be your host and moderator today. Thanks for joining us on LinkedIn Live if you are here. If you have ever built or managed an affiliate program, you know it is not a set it and forget it situation. It would be glorious if it was, and it was purely a pay for performance channel, but the industry rarely talks about the real costs of getting those results for the affiliate program. They aren't just about paying commissions. There are setup costs, there are tech costs, there are team costs, and hidden leaks like fraud, coupon abuse, and channel conflicts. All of these factors in and quietly drain your return on investment. And that's exactly what our panel today is here to unpack. We're going to walk through every stage of the affiliate journey from launch to scale and spotlight the expenses and trade-offs that you can make or break your profits. We've got a powerhouse group here of experts. First up is Hafiz Doza, CEO of Inflection. Thanks for joining us, and tell us what you do and who you serve, Hafiz.
Hey everyone, I'm Hafiz Dosa, CEO and co-founder of Inflection. So we're an AI-powered partnership platform that helps brands scale their affiliate and influencer channels. And basically, in short, we make partnerships perform and convert. Inflection personalizes basically every click that comes in real time, meaning that when someone visits through a creator or an affiliate, the landing page and messaging basically adapt to match that partner's audience, and the result is higher conversions, more revenue, and a longer-term partnership between the affiliate and the brand.
Excellent. Next up, Brooke Schaff, CEO of FMTC. Tell us what you do and who you serve, Brooke.
Thanks for having me, Dustin. So FMTC is famous for our coupon and deal feed, which provides monetized deal feeds to enterprise affiliates. We power most of the major players in coupon and cashback in the English-speaking markets around the world. We also have hundreds of millions of product feeds from thousands of merchants and workflows to support business development by affiliate program managers, i.e. the merchant or agency side, as well as program management on the affiliate side.
Fantastic. And hitting cleanup, Jake Fuller, CEO of JEB Commerce. Tell us what you do and who you serve.
Good to see everybody today. Jake Fuller, CEO at JEB Commerce. So we're an affiliate agency that focuses on helping brands kind of top to bottom understand and manage their affiliate program or their channel. We work with brands of kind of all sizes, from small brands to challenger brands to a few enterprise brands. So experience kind of spans across many verticals and many sizes.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining me. You're all great friends and my first round draft picks for this topic. Thanks for being here. And over the next 45 minutes, we're going to get real about what it actually costs to win in affiliate marketing, the must-haves, the money pits, the smart moves that protect your margins. And this is going to be an interactive deep dive with these experts. So feel free to ask any questions, add comments, and we'll take them on as they come in. So let's dive in, and I'm going to start with Hafiz and ask you the first question here. Many brands treat affiliate marketing like a plug-and-play channel. From your experience helping brands launch programs, what's the first cost most founders underestimate when building from scratch?
Well, I'm going to cheat and give you two.
Okay.
The first is going to be a simple one, like partner activation and spending money on that. Bar none, the most successful brands that I see are doing proper activation of their partners. So in-person events, hosting dinners at conferences with their partners, Zoom activations, webinars, coming up with crazy out-of-the-box ideas, and actually investing in that when you start. If you're since you talk about building from scratch, there's a lot of ways, a lot of opportunities for people that have audiences to go and promote different brands. And if you're not being different, if you're not engaging and building relationships with them properly, and sometimes that takes an investment in money, that's going to put you basically behind the curve. And so just activating those partner relationships properly and investing in that. I'd say the second one would be tech and creative. So investing in that as well too. Generally, I like to recommend, just to be specific, like at least take whatever your goals are for revenue and what you're looking to generate, allocating about 5% of that towards tech and creative, ideally even a couple more points if your margins can support that. On the technology side, we've seen examples where in some opportunities or some brands, like labor costs of what they spent on the channel were actually exceeding their commission payouts. So like that was the largest cost and not like commissions. And in some cases I've seen it where it's like 2x that. And that's because there was so much manual work needed to be done to build relationships with partners and twist styles and platforms, things like that. And so just investing in the automation and tools. And then on the creative side, investing in that, just because that will improve the overall retention of the partners by leading to higher performance and lower churn. Because the last thing you want to do is recruit someone, have them promote something, and then it just doesn't convert. And then that's the easiest way to burn through a relationship. And then you're just on this recruitment hamster wheel. And I'll give you an example of that. Like in the past, like this is from my agency days. I remember this example. It was easier to get like a $10 million annual ad budget approved than it was to spend like $50K on a creative shoot. And it just blew my mind because like that's what, like 0.5%. If the conversion rates had gone up by like 0.5% on the $10 million in ad budget from better creative, it would have been a break even on that and probably more profitable. Definitely, like, so there's lots of money on the table there, but just improving that conversion rate because a 0.5% bar is like ridiculously low. And I see a lot of education in like Meta and agencies shifting that in the paid ads world. And creative budgets have soared, things like that. And in the affiliate ecosystem, I don't see that same trend across the board. It definitely is there for some brands and not others, but it's not like an overall trend to continue to like reinvest into creative. And I think that's partly because of like the pay for performance model. So you don't feel as hard like for conversions, but the cost is still there in a hidden way in the form of like partner churn, which is essentially cuts your entire scalability of the channel.
Awesome. Brooke, Jake, anything to add in there?
Those were pretty solid. Creative's on my list. Creative is probably one of the more overlooked pieces in at least our channel, where it's like, hey, great, we've got some creative assets from these channels. We've got some great logos and maybe a couple lifestyle images for these products. We'll just send those and you can pop those over to affiliates. If you're really truly wanting to diversify your partner mix, you've got to create your creative assets for the channel, specifically for the channel. It's an investment most brands don't take on out of the gate. They have to be coached into that. So yeah, I think you're spot on. I think tracking, implementation, tech, and creative are two of the most underrepresented cost in the channel that brands don't quite prepare for.
For sure. And in terms of creative, like one of the things I love about Inflection is that you can put the creative within your program. You're not having to go anywhere else. Like all the affiliates can see it right next to all their links and like all the copy is there. I don't think that's something a lot of networks are doing at a great scale. But moving on here, next question's for Brooke. You've seen hundreds of programs at different stages. What are the must-have setup investments that separate a compliant, scalable program from a risky one?
Yes, many programs over the years. I also used to own an agency before which I was an in-house program manager, and I have a forthcoming book on affiliate marketing. So let me go to my cheat sheet here for the manuscript. We have seen tens of thousands of programs here at FMTC over the years. We currently have about 20,000 integrations, so quite a lot of data points on that, quite a lot of good programs, and a lot of programs that have challenges too. So a few bullet points. First, if you have to determine who's going to manage your program, an internal person or an external team, like an agency, or a combination of both. You have to set a strategy and goals for your program. This part is very easily overlooked with sort of a vague sentiment like more revenue, profitable revenue, something like that. But you really need to dial it into an appropriate level of resolution. Correspondingly, you need to select tracking and payments providers. These would be what we commonly refer to as networks. And then you have to integrate said solution. You have to set up your tracking, your payment terms, your commission rates, et cetera. And then identify, recruit, and activate your affiliates, of course, cultivate the ongoing relationships, and then pay out the commissions. So that's going to include your compliance, your negotiations, all sorts of stuff. So not only is it a good number of steps that require different levels of expertise, but if you're going to fulfill on it effectively, you're probably going to need a variety of tools and a variety of people working in separate roles.
Great calls. Anything to add there, Jake? Fees?
I'd say maybe just like real focus on like the offer design is often overlooked, and like that can literally make or break something. Just making it something that is appealing both to the affiliate and their audience. I've seen examples where something should have been teed up for success. That it was like an A-list influencer. They were launching their own brand. There's lots of successful examples of those, and they just, what I saw in this case was like a very poor offer structure, and wasn't something that was very appealing. The value propositions didn't quite fit, and all it would have taken is a few tweaks to the offer, and it could have skyrocketed. But overall, it performed really poorly because, in my opinion, it's because the offer design was just not something really scalable.
Awesome. We've got some comments in here. Looks like, Brooke, you've got some Shafco alumni coming in here for the win with Alexis showing up. Thanks for joining us, Alexis.
She was too. She never worked for Schaff Consulting. She's much better taste than that, Dustin.
Fantastic. Salt Lake City, Utah. What's up, Eduardo, amigo? Thanks for doing this. Will this be recorded? Absolutely. It's going to be recorded. It'll be sent into your email box here at the end. All right, moving on. Jake, this one's for you. When a CMO comes to you saying, we want to drive sales fast, where do you see the biggest mismatch between budget expectations and reality?
Don't we all want sales fast?
Absolutely. I want it.
I think this happens more often than some think. So expectation versus reality. When a brand comes and they want to drive sales quickly from the affiliate channel, a lot of the times they have this predicated image that it's still just commission based. Hey, just play with that one lever and drive some revenue, do it quickly. So I think there's kind of two folds to tackle this answer, this question. First off, expectation versus reality. If they haven't done any precursor investment or resource allocation towards the infrastructure of that program, so whether it's how your offer is designed, the creative assets, we've talked about a few of these already, technical implementation and how you're attributing and rewarding partners. Is it attractive to them? Have you done your competitive analysis? There's a whole skew of things that we can talk about to set up a foundationally good program. The expectation, though, is that, hey, in 90 days, we want to drive X amount of revenue or X amount of lift. Let's do it quickly. Let's move forward. I can come back with a proposal to typically hit that number if it's not an outlandish goal, but it's not typically just a single lever that you have to pull. And so I think a lot of brands don't expect that while we're still a performance-driven channel, there's a lot of fixed or paid efforts that you need to budget for to test with partners, to integrate with partners, and to move quickly. You can't just turn on a spigot. I think we've used this analogy plenty of times. I've heard it from others. I've used it. The idea that you can flip a switch and affiliate will start driving revenue out of the gate. It doesn't work like that. It's very relationship based. And so if you do want to drive revenue quickly, you've got to look at, what is your profitability threshold? What do your margins look like? Are you willing to send out exclusive vanity codes or best of web offers? Do you have creative assets and promotional calendars lined up for the next 90 days? And do you have some budget to play around with that's discretionary, or you can throw out some newsletter inclusions, homepage placements? Those come at a premium. Those aren't commission based in most cases. And so there's a lot of costs that I think get overlooked because we're performance, and a CMO might think like, hey, you're an agency, make the phone calls, get these partners to drive more sales. But they're in this for economical reasons as well. And the offer's got to be set up in a manner that's attractive. They've got to have the resources from a creative standpoint to make it make sense for them and their audience. And you've got to budget accordingly for that. So yeah, that's often one you have to kind of coach CMOs or coach brands in general out of. This will just turn on overnight. If you want it to turn on quicker, here's the levers that you have to pull, and here's what it's going to cost you. And is it worth it? Is that a scalable long-term strategy? I will note that there are exceptions to this. And it's been a while since I've had a brand directly say this. But if a brand comes to you and they're like, hey, we're VC backed, we're trying to be acquired or go public in the next 12 months, top line revenue is our only KPI. We don't care what the cost is.
Wow.
Profitability is not a concern. Well, great. Write a blank check and we'll make it happen. We'll drive sales very quickly. But for most brands, that is not a viable, way to manage your program and make the channel a long-term, profitable endeavor.
Yeah, what a dream client. I love the concept of exploratory budget that you're presenting to the clients when they're coming on board, because paying to get the ball rolling a lot faster is going to help not just you, but I think that's where the agencies come in the greatest. They have those contacts already. They don't have to do a lot of outreach. They just hit up their connections that they already have. What would you say is a good exploratory budget for a monthly budget here?
That depends on the brand, their size, and where their market fit is from a product standpoint. But if you're not, $2,500 to $5,000 a month is a good range to just play with, right? Okay. You can do it for less, you can do it for more. Again, it depends on what kind of placements you're looking for. If you're trying to go pretty high end on top publications, that's not going to scratch the surface.
Yeah.
But if you really just want to kind of make some interesting, test budgets to kind of play with partners that you've been working with over time to see what levers they can pull and how they can present your brand to their audience and drive additional traffic or conversion. Sometimes you can throw out, if you have that relationship established, a $500 test, a $1,000 test, up to about a $5,000 test. Is kind of a good range to play with, just to kind of see what they're able to do, what did that provide and lift, and then you kind of obviously test, scale, and repeat from there after you've reviewed that.
And that can be kind of tough to ask for as well from those clients.
Yeah.
They're already investing in your agency, expecting some things. Asking for another 5,000 can be a bit daunting. Brooke, did you have any success getting exploratory budget, or was this anything that you explored back in that day?
Dustin, you're dating me here. We did sell the agency in 2017, so right. I think that the typical hybrid placement deals definitely existed back then, but it was much harder to push them, which actually kind of goes back to the point that he's made early on. Sometimes it can be very hard to get a small amount of money, ironically, compared to a larger amount of money. And so something else I want to add on this topic, though, is I think Jake's 100% correct. And in my book, I actually struggled to define affiliate marketing because it's not always commission-based. I do think it's fair for it to call it a channel. And I think that channel is probably defined by one-to-one relationships, which are very inefficient and take a lot of time, and an expectation of performance. The exact compensation mechanism of CPA versus CPC versus hybrid, or even a paid placement, will vary depending on the relationship. And so if you're a merchant, you have to expect to have a budget for that of whatever amount, ask the agency in order to play in that space.
Great point. And that kind of segues a little bit into Hafiz. I want to get your thoughts on this, but Dan Da Silva, brands looking to make moves fast in affiliate also have to look inward and make sure that their conversion funnel is rock solid, so they aren't wasting any traffic and leads. I think, Hafiz, you had a lot of thoughts on this. You don't take on brands that aren't converting, right?
Yeah, no, they're definitely investing in the funnel and having that be a good net to catch the traffic is important. And I think one of the ways we see that really working is by actually having by not sending traffic to a generic funnel and not having a one size fits all, and by actually personalizing it based on the traffic coming in and what kind of partner they are, and more importantly, who their audience is. Because if you just send it to a one size fits all page and expect magic from there, that's where we see it often falling flat. And I'm not just talking about like slapping their name and photo and a testimonial on a page and calling that personalized. It's more by really understanding like what messaging would resonate with this audience and their interests, and then really catering it to match that. Like we've done A/B tests on this kind of stuff before, and just like even a customized headline and subheadline, that's it. Like nothing else on the page changed. Drove like a 20 to 90% increase in conversion rates compared to like the generic one as a baseline. And even those generic ones were not just like crappy pages; those were doing like millions of dollars in revenue, and it was still getting a lift by doing just a custom headline and subheadline based on the partner. And then if you go full page, like talking about like headline, subheadline, the content on it, and what reviews you select to place on the page so that hits the audience interest, all the benefits that you focus on, because often if a product has multiple benefits and jobs to be done, if you focus on the right ones on different pages, you can see a huge lift there. We've seen like full page optimization get like double or triple increases in conversion rates. That's the kind of stuff we make easy to do at Inflection, but no matter how you do it, like that's where the money's at. Because whether you're running like a fixed fee promotion, now that's all to the bottom line. But even if you're paying, if you increase your conversion rates, but that effectively increases your payouts because the affiliate sees more revenue from their higher conversion rates, the benefit to that is, one thing you can do is like start playing with the levers of what your payout rates are and lowering that if you need to. You can build margin there. But I think that's also sometimes can be short-sighted. And the longer term plays, if the affiliate's seeing a lot of revenue, they're going to push you harder and on more channels more often. And that's just going to create like an exponential win on your top line.
Totally agree. And I love how Inflection cares about the conversion rate of the partners and the brands out there and helping them actually convert. I think it's something that's been missing from the affiliate world and other networks and platforms in the past. And love what you're doing with the social listening and the customization there with every brand. But coming back to you, Hafiz, we're going to move into the hidden and variable costs here. You've analyzed a ton of partner data across clients. What are some of those hidden or indirect costs like tech and operations that companies often forget to budget for?
One would be to just get a really deep understanding of your channel mix. So measuring your middle of funnel events, not just like a click happened and a conversion happened, but like what are all the steps in the middle? Mm-hmm. And then integrating that across channels with like an MTA platform. So that's like when I talked earlier, like allocating like 5% or more for tech, like that would be one of the areas to invest in tech wise, would be like a MTA multi-touch attribution platform. So that'll help you understand things like which partners are better at driving like unassisted conversions versus ones that need other channels as helpers, time to purchase, looking at like the channel journeys and seeing what the kind of flows of traffic are and how it relates to other channels. Because I've seen like two different partners where the affiliate platform says the same thing, like, X% conversion rate, and they drove roughly the same number of sales in the same period. Like they look equal. But under the hood, if you pop the data there and like look at like an MTA platform, it shows like a completely different picture. Because when one you'd see, like, I remember this example where they were getting most of their sales. One partner drove most of the sales themselves and had no other channels needing helpers, and the other needed like assists from like retargeting ads, from emails, from other paid channels, and that first partner is more valuable. But if you're paying them the same commission rates because you see like, they're both set up in the same way in the affiliate platform, really that first partner is subsidizing the second. And so that again, like just like if you were to increase commission rates maybe for that first partner or decrease them on the second one, you can start getting a lot of inefficiencies. And that's the kind of like hidden costs that we often see. And it's the same thing. Like if you look at like paid media teams, right? Like nowadays, if you're running like paid ads on like Google and Meta channels or TikTok as well, like you're not just looking at like the one channel data in a silo. Like you're looking how they interact with each other, how like some top of funnel from Meta really relates to like retargeting on Google. Most companies, like for whatever reason, have a barrier between like their paid ads team and their affiliate team. And I think like if you're a CMO or leading like growth at a brand, one important thing you can do is like really start breaking down that barrier and start playing with that and how those teams interact. And there's a lot of hidden costs or hidden opportunities to really optimize there.
Awesome. Anything to add there, Jake Brook?
Solid answer.
All right. Fair enough. Let's move into the coupon world. Brooke, coupon leakage, fraud, compliance issues often come up as a surprise cost. What mechanisms or tools do you see working best to control these risks without overspending?
Oh boy. So first of all, he's made a lot of great points, and in fact, so many that it's a lot to unpack. Let me drill down on something that's kind of a preamble to the topic you just brought up.
Okay.
The thing, you kind of go back to strategy and setting the goals and setting the framework. You really do want a neutral analytics tool, which is not going to be GA4, to tell you what you're getting from all of your traffic sources, because there's a very strong tendency for, to his point, everything gets siloed a little bit, and affiliate usually gets the short end of the stick in terms of the crediting. And what I mean by that is the walled gardens in particular, Google and Facebook will be overcredited. If you do programmatic advertising, that's very easy for that to happen too. But the overcrediting focus and concern tends to be in the affiliate space. And so you'll need to use the tracking platform that you're working. But on top of that, you ideally do have a layer that looks at all of your channels together. And those typically do tend to be MTA, which is multi-touch attribution, last click attribution, which is, I don't know, maybe 90% plus of programs is a subset of MTA. And the alternative is the traditional structure called MMM, mixed media modeling, or something like that, depending who you ask. And I don't mean to get too in the weeds in that, but the person you go to or the software you go to ask what happened is going to make a big difference, and you want it to be neutral. And in fairness of that neutrality, any merchant or agency should be advised to know that MMM does not usually play well with affiliate. So going back to your question, to face this issue directly, in addition to kind of like the coupon leakage, the fraud, the compliance issues you brought up, we have to say that there's a concern around low and no incrementality here, which is sometimes called coupon cannibalization. Somebody goes to the shopping cart, they add a product, they look for the coupon, they see click to reveal, the cookie is dropped, the affiliate gets credit, and then to the sort of what Hafiz mentioned earlier, there might be an earlier channel partner who you rather wish to credit. And so I'm personally, my heart is with the coupon and the reward sites, but I think you have to be fair to everybody involved. And if you're the merchant, you have to go by what you think is right for the business. So the proposal that I would make is that there's every touch point has some value, and you want to compensate everybody fairly. So in terms of that process, if you have like influencers or top of funnel guys, they do get some of that with paid placements. You can also put them on separate tracks, and you'll want to remember that most of the time, those two tracks do not overlap, i.e. if there's a coupon affiliate in the pathway, there's not also an influencer, and vice versa. Often, it's very interesting. You can talk to the networks about this data. It's been the same for over 20 years. The tendency is for a quick purchase within the 24-hour cycle, and then for them to have relatively little overlap. Browser extensions are simple. So the big solution framework first is to have that neutral arbiter of the MTA, and then set your commission rates so that you're in theory comfortable working with any party as long as they're not abusing your rules. They're not breaking the rules with forced clicks, cookie stuffing, trademark bidding, etc. If you have all that set up, we can kind of get back to the leakage and fraud, which I think are serious issues in the space in two different ways at least. So one, there's going to be margin erosion for the merchant. And then two, this is a little bit more vague, but I think there's a lack of trust of the coupon space by the consumer. I often hear kind of anecdotal, go to a party, what do you do? And somebody says, oh, I don't shop through coupon sites anymore because none of them work. This is galling to me because everything that FMTC sends out works. But what happens is coupon sites, you post, it's publish or perish is their sense for SEO purposes. So they post all this garbage. It includes expired stuff. It includes stuff they just literally make up. And that's really bad because the consumer should have a good experience, and the challenger brand should have an opportunity to, compete in the marketplace via price segmentation. So in terms of the fraud, that's a compliance issue that the merchants have to observe. We actually introduced a forbidden codes feature earlier this year, where a merchant can send us the codes that affiliates are explicitly not allowed to use, and we will send those to select affiliates, because you have to trust them enough to remove the codes, not to repost them. And then you just basically have to monitor. So it's like trademark bidding. If you're a merchant and you care, or the agency representing the merchant, you have to do monitoring and deal with partners. And there's a funny thing here where if you don't have a relationship, you kind of don't have leverage. And there's actually there's a bunch of affiliates out there in the space, or sites that look like affiliates that actually are not affiliates, and they'll bid on trademarks. They'll show up in the SERPs, but they monetize other ways, maybe open web programmatic display advertising. They have maybe affiliate programs for like downloads or something like that, but they're not like your retail affiliate. And so those guys, you might coordinate with coupon sites or even bidding affiliates to sort of sandbag them. Again, complex, good reason to have an agency. And then for the leakage stuff, my suggestion would be, first, as you're a merchant, you really should have a full basket of coupons, because customers are looking for those deals.
Okay.
Have a new customer discount, have affinity code discounts with, military, et cetera. Have a big discount for a super high basket size, like, 50 off 250 or more. Have some product discounts, et cetera, because it's a grip for shoppers. It's going to help click-throughs. It's going to help conversion. And then update those as frequently as possible. A lot of merchants just really have stale things out there. That'll also help to sort of feed the beast a little bit, because the coupon sites will be less likely to make stuff up. Like it or not, customers are looking, they're going to find that stuff. It's a bad user experience, even if they don't have a relationship with you. And so the key thing is, you really need to engage with that system in order to win. Like, think about your commission rates, your commission structure, how you're getting that content out there, because the affiliates want that. And it's not just the classic affiliate, the classic coupon affiliate, because a lot of affiliates that are not classified as coupon affiliates, not just reward affiliates, do show coupons, and they can be great to work with. You get a newsletter placement, you can win traffic from another brand, et cetera. Really, really good opportunities. You just have to engage, and there's no way around the fact that it's a lot of work to do that engagement.
All great points. Jake, anything to add there? I know your guys' agency does free audits of programs, and you guys are using some tools. Any thoughts on the fraud prevention?
Yeah, that was a more in-depth answer than I think I could have given. So I'm glad Brooke had that question. I think he covered a lot of it. I think when we run audits, when it comes to coupon leakage, and even when we're looking at brands we work with now, that is a direct cost that can, cause margin erosion if you're not careful on how coupons are being utilized. We also, this is the manual side that, people don't like to do the nitty gritty sometimes in affiliate management. Our team will look at, every partner that's actively driving traffic in our programs, and actually check their sites to see what they're promoting, how they're promoting, what codes are being used. We're seeing what codes are coming through and being tracked through the network, or even the brands will have a red flag if there's an attributed sale from an affiliate utilizing a coupon or a discount that a consumer brought up, even at their call center, that should have never been used in affiliate. We monitor that. Again, relationship based. We work with partners that we know. If we say, hey, that wasn't supposed to happen, they're going to take that down. If we don't have that trust in them, we'll typically not work with them in the first place. But you have to monitor how those coupons are being used. Obviously, if they're predicated for other channels and not allowed here. But Brooke's answer obviously was, how that impacts a program.
For sure.
Quite deep.
Yeah. And Brooke, you mentioned the forbidden codes. I think that's a new tool that you guys are offering. I'm really excited about that growing throughout this industry. I think it's really a brilliant move from you guys.
Well, thank you. And I just want to emphasize, I think the affiliate channel has potentially billions of dollars in GMV that is kind of being left on the table because these shopping patterns are either circumvented. People are going through the walled gardens. They lose kind of faith in the channel. The shopping portal aspect is important. And kind of one other thing is, we also launched single-use codes, so we can distribute single-use codes on behalf of a merchant, and that can be a critical control mechanism. Your cart can probably produce them pretty easily. You can just you don't have to work with us. You can send them to affiliates, and then they get sort of so many. They can display those. You have control, where they've gone, where they come from, and then you can also expire those. So again, the key I think is engagement. Get more stuff out there on faster loops, and also experiment. These deals might not work. These other deals might work. These deals work at a certain time period, et cetera. It's a lot of work, but that's your job to figure that out.
Yeah, great call. Jake, coming back to you, from an agency management perspective, what are the variable costs of placements, bonuses, test budgets? They can get out of control sometimes if they're not monitored. Do you coach brands to cap or forecast for these?
Yes and no. I mean, cost in general, if you're using an agency or using someone who's got experience in the channel, those costs should be accounted for and somewhat forecasted from the get-go. When we run audits or we talk to brands and look at their programs, there are a lot of variables that can get out of control in a program if you're not setting up, monthly or quarterly. Annual is a little bit too far. You want to look at a full annual year-over-year analysis, but you should have a minimum of a quarterly checkpoint. And you're looking at things like placement cost. Commissions can get out of control if you're just playing the game with affiliate partners and you're increasing commissions here and trying to be overly competitive. If you're not looking at the type of discounts you're handing out and what kind of leakage or compliance monitoring you're offering, that can start to erode margin. Free product. So if you're heavily built to go after and you're trying to build content creators and influencers, and free product is one great lever to do that, and you're just sending off free product by the dozens every month, if you're not running an audit on a quarterly basis to see how that's actually affecting the revenue growth and how it ties back to your profitability threshold and what you're able to do, those are going to spiral out of control. You've got to look at those on a monthly basis and look at kind of partner by partner. Hey, we did a 5K spend here. We sent free product here. What kind of lift did we experience? What was the acquisition cost? I think that's one lens that I like to look at that from. So if you're increasing any kind of cost that you don't want it to get out of control, tie it back to a specific KPI that makes sense for your brand. So is their new to file rate and new to file share increasing with that paid effort or that increased commission? Or is it not? Is it still profitable to run that? There's a lot of KPIs that you have to consider when you're talking about variable cost of a program. Is it scalable for long-term profitability or is it not? And that's got to be kind of partner by partner. I think other things that are not talked about enough, as you start to see a program scale, costs that can get out of control, return rates. Return rates in the affiliate channel can be handled on the surface level quite easy, right? A consumer makes a transaction, it's attributed to affiliate, then gets returned. A consumer sends the product back. Typically speaking, that's a very easy process to cancel that transaction or reverse that commission to the partner. Great, it didn't cost the brand anything. But that does cost the brand something. Typically, brands have to put resource time into restocking. They've got to, typically eat shipping in some cases when a consumer wants to send a product back. And so if your return rate on average is X and your affiliate return rate is skyrocketing, that's a big red flag. And that also erodes margin and resources from brands. And so there's a lot of things that you need to look at. I think brands that do well at controlling those costs have those monthly or quarterly audits to look at by partner. What was our spend? Where do we have costs that we didn't expect? Where do we, implement testing budgets? Where did we send free product? How did that actually equate to, whatever KPIs or backends that you need to measure that against, and make sure you're pruning if they don't meet that goal. And if they do, you figure out how to scale further.
Yes, absolutely. I love the quarterly audit note that you had there. Quick shout out to my buddies over at Refinery that has a amazing product that is setting up those reports and bundling them all up nice and neat for agencies and brands. Love what they're doing over there. Got a couple of comments here. Looks like Kristen Big Time Evans is in here. Looks like we officially kicked off Movember. Yes, thank you for noticing my amazing stash and so much talent, expertise packed into one panel. Thanks for joining us, Kristen. And then my buddy Joey. Love the Forbidden Code feed. Great call out. Joey's using it himself. Switching gears, strategic trade-offs. Hafiz, once the brand's basics are essentially in place, what's the framework for deciding where to invest next to scale? Is that in tech? Is that in partners? Or is that into people?
Yeah, I mean, I would actually add a fourth one to that. And that's on funnel and creative still. So kind of harping a bit from what we talked about before and just continuing to reinvest in there, not just taking that as static. So I would go, funnel and creative, then tech, then people, then partners in that pecking order there. The funnel, creative, tech, all that kind of stuff creates leverage. I think we talked about that enough earlier on this webinar here. So those first. And then, because if you just throw people if you throw bodies at the problem, it's not going to get you far from like a long-term scalability perspective. It may work in the short term, but just from, you want to figure out, automation. And before you start having, and if you can't, and that's really changing with AI as well in the space, like then you can start adding people. And what it does is that the funnel improves your margin. So you can invest in people and technology, because those aren't cheap investments. Sometimes they're long-term investments, and they don't necessarily pay off in day zero. So you use your funnel improvements to create that margin. You invest that into people and technology, and then those end up creating like a really solid net to then catch the traffic from the partners. Because and then that way you're not like churning and burning through partners, and so once you have everything set up for partners to have a great experience and a financial ROI, then you bring the partners in at the end and start scaling up in that way. That's how I do it.
Love it. Brooke, do you concur? Do you invest in technology and A/B testing first before going after partners in tech?
So many years ago, I left a very prosperous Zappos.com for a very non-prosperous Shoes.com. And what killed me was the abysmal conversion rate by comparison. So if your conversion rate is not competitive, you are not competitive.
Excellent point. Jake, what about you?
I think that's the right track that I would take as well. I think that the word I would use is diversification. So if you've got your channel set up, all the basics are met, you've got some partners converting, and you're ready to start scaling. This is a long-term answer and it's vague, but diversification is what allows your program to mature and remain profitable and in a growth phase over the long term. But diversification can mean a lot of things. It could be partner investment. It could be specifically funnel and tech investment. It could be, specific personnel, agency. There's a lot that goes into that. But if you want to diversify your channel into different aspects of the funnel, from content all the way down to coupon partners and everything in between, I don't think people realize there's partners that work with us, that we work with on behalf of brands, that they will do on a performance or a hybrid model. They'll run some different programmatic ad display buys on behalf of brands. They'll run different email efforts. They'll run, stuff that used to be siloed as its own channel. You can find partners that can do that or supplement that and diversify that program out. But if you're not ready for that from an investment standpoint, it's hard to kind of tap into those.
Absolutely. And oftentimes I'll have brands talk to me and ask what they should do for an affiliate program, and I'll look at their site and I'll recognize that they are not ready for an affiliate program, and it's irresponsible for them to start an affiliate program before fixing that conversion rate on their site. So always a good standpoint to go for a conversion first. Moving on, Brooke, some brands over-index on tools or networks. Others try to go fully in-house. How do you advise brands to think about build versus buy when it comes to affiliate infrastructure and recruitment?
So multiple networks we'll have to leave for as a topic for another day. In terms of the tools and anything else that you might build, Take this with a grain of salt because I may be biased, but I would say 1,000 times over, make buy your default. If the tool is valuable, the market's probably set a pretty reasonable price for it. And if you want to build something in-house and you have a developer who's capable of that, vis-a-vis like an affiliate tool or something, you're probably better off having them build something else. And that's assuming it's successful, because most software projects fail. So I would be very cautious unless you have very specific needs and it's unavoidable. There's probably a tool out there in the marketplace. And if there's not, let us know. We might be able to build it for you.
Love it. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people like, hey, we're thinking about building this in-house. And I'm like, I can't help but laugh out loud at them. Like, do not go down this nightmare path. You're setting yourself up for failure.
No, because there's always like a developer. There's always developers like, oh yeah, it's just like, some mapping and some APIs and something. And it's like, no, because you are sucked into it. And then you're like, abandon it, or you're committed to it. Beware.
Absolutely.
And I've seen it, even for whatever reason, it was built out in the past, but now the industry has evolved and the tools have evolved so far, and then that in-house tool is just stuck like 5-7 years ago, and then if you buy, then you have a team that's dedicated towards constantly improving that you don't have to pay for.
I mean, to drive it home, as an agency, we will not work with a brand if they use an in-house infrastructure or platform. I will consult with them. I'll give them advice. But if they're not migrating to, a network or SaaS partner that we have some familiarity with, or some understanding that they can actually run the gambit on what we need them to do, it's no dice.
Yeah. Alexis is a big fan of this. Great call. All right, Jake, you've worked with brands through every growth phase. What are the early warning signs that a program's costs are outpacing its ROI, and what do you do to reset it here?
That's a good question. I think there's a lot of factors or flags that you can kind of point to. So again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. Having an audit process set up, whether that's monthly, quarterly, and you should have it done annually as well, is a good way to make sure you catch these flags. But if you see things like rising return rates, if you're, new to file share, your new customer share coming from the channel is stagnant or starting to decrease, if you're noticing that you're overly reliant on a very small subset of partners or a single category of partner, I think all of us has probably seen programs where 98% of their revenue comes from these two partners, and it's, DSPs and browser extension type partners, and they've got nothing else coming in. These are all big red flags on programs we audit, and things you kind of have to keep an eye on. I think long-term as well, this can fluctuate a lot month over month, depending on, new partner recruitment, maybe some upfront investment or or a budget that you're kind of putting aside to test with, but cost versus revenue growth. So there's programs that we've audited before where I'll look at the last 3 years and I'll look quarter over quarter, year over year, and overall revenue remains flat, up 5% year over year, and costs have increased 15, 20, 30% year over year just to get the same revenue. And so that's a big flag that is harder to spot short term, because again, that can fluctuate quite a bit within reason. But if you're seeing your program cost increase over time and your revenue remains flat or doesn't increase at the same rate or better, in my opinion, that's a huge red flag. So to go back to reset, if you start seeing concerns about margin erosion, you're starting to have concerns about, ROI on your program or your channel as a whole, you've got to look at and run these audits. You've got to trim underperformers where it's needed. You've got to look at tightening up your promotional or your coupon governance. And so obviously looking at compliance, leakage, etc. Another one is go back to the drawing board and look at how your attribution or your tracking implementation is set up. Are you attributing partners appropriately? Are you attributing them for driving what you're asking them to drive or what you need them to drive? Is it new to file? Is it, acquisition cost? What are some of those metrics that keep you profitable and keep ROI positive? and rebuild that program and reset your offers and your commissions and your rewarding to those KPIs that are important to you as a brand. And then I would say reinvest in where you're probably lacking, which typically for programs that we see these red flags, they haven't been reinvesting or investing to begin with in content or discovery partners that can kind of move the needle on driving awareness.
Awesome. Any other thoughts there, Brooke, Hafiz?
Just what you were saying, Jake, about like the costs going up over time, and the revenues flat. I think just when you say costs, and I know this is what you mean, but I think just for everyone else here, like all in costs across like any resources that are taken within the company from other departments, even like whether if you don't have your payments automated, like the finance department, like really looking at a picture of like what the true costs of running the channel are, because there's lots of hidden ones if you just look from that's not just commissions.
100%. I think it's funny sometimes when I think our industry over indexes the value of ROI our channel can produce. And I don't think it's wrong. I think typically we produce a well-managed program, a higher ROI as a channel compared to others at times. That said, it's really easy to say, hey, on average, this vertical produces a 21x, return on investment as a channel. And they're just comparing top line revenue from the channel to commissions and maybe network fees paid out. And that's their only line item of expense. So when we run forecasts for brands and they're looking for a certain ROI, that might actually be cut in half. On paper, I can say it's 19x to 1, it's 19x ROI on the channel. No, the forecast might come out to 9x on the channel, because now we're going to add in our agency fees. We're going to look at the average discount rate that we're utilizing in the channel across the revenue that was provided. We're looking at things like return rates, network costs, placement costs, testing budgets. We include all of that in a forecast sheet, so you get a true picture of here's what we think it's going to forecast out to in terms of revenue. Here's all the cost we can possibly think of. And we might even miss one. Now here's the ROI. Is that still worth the investment? And it typically still can be, but you need to consider those.
That's brilliant, Jake. I love that you're doing that for your prospective customers there, clients, as you will. And I'm going to throw a curveball at you guys. Like, let's just take a scenario where you got a 5 million annual revenue from an e-commerce product. What's the number that's going to come to your head of like, this is what it's going to take to invest in an affiliate program properly over the next 12 months? Any of you guys have a number in mind and like where you're going to allocate that budget?
Like excluding payouts and media costs.
Okay.
You're saying? Okay.
Yes.
Or all in.
I would say all in.
Okay.
75 grand.
Okay. Love that you dropped that number that quickly. Where's your thought process on where that investment's going?
It's higher for big brands. 5 million annual e-commerce revenue would be considered a smaller brand or maybe a mid-sized brand.
Right.
If they're going to get into the affiliate channel, network and SaaS fees, again, to build the infrastructure out of the gate for long-term success, that number comes from knowing what you need to invest in an agency or a full-time employee, into the software that you need, compliance and fraud tools, offer setup, recruitment and publisher engagement, creative, right? So creative assets and creative work that needs to be done up front. All of that in the first year, and I'm including commissions on, say a 5 to 20% rate, depending on what vertical you're in, and some testing budgets. If you want to be really lean, I'm going to call it 40 to 50. If you're a small brand that first year, if the channel's performing the way it should be. But 75 is a good number to make sure you're comfortable with jumping into the channel.
75 seems low in my mind. Like just in terms of like having a good affiliate manager is on the top of my list to do, and investing in that, in a really good ones itself is going to cost $100,000 if you're doing it in-house. If you're going with an agency, I think the budget is much more acceptable in that.
It could be more variable too.
Yeah. Hafiz, Brooke, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking launching from scratch, I'd say for the first year, outside of media costs, like $250,000, to the right people, I think is the biggest cost. Tech testing budget, creative relationship budget, like building budget with partners, potential partners. Yeah, I mean that'll add up, and that's your first year. It'll go down in year 2.
Yeah.
As you know, some of those are longer term investments. Once your creative is built, then you just need to optimize, which is much less.
Yeah. $250,000 sounds expensive, and that might scare people away from starting a program too, right? So like throwing that number might
I think $250,000 is not inaccurate. We have programs that spend triple that in a given year, but they're not doing 5 million in e-commerce every year. They're doing 10 or 20x that or better. So with the setting of 5 million in total e-com, I feel like 250 might be heavy.
All right,
that's my opinion. But
we got a question here that came up. What about a startup? There are tons of smaller companies trying to get into this space and want the guardrails of a successful affiliate program. This would help. 40K, 50K for small businesses.
Well, when you say startup, I think, Dustin, you mentioned this earlier. First, get someone to help consult with you and assess if affiliate is the right timing yet. Because when it comes to a startup brand, sometimes affiliate is not where you jump into first to go, hey, this will cover all my marketing needs. And so let's just invest in affiliate. So first and foremost, make sure affiliate is something that you're primed and ready for. And then you can have that kind of discussion on cost and break that down.
Great. Brooke, do you want to throw in your answer?
Yeah, so I think you've seen a huge range from two very informed people. And remember, Jake offers this as a service, so it's that's a quote he just offered you. That's a guarantee that the services if you're listening. But to have These's point, there really is a lot of this invisible architecture.
Can we rewind?
And so you'll see. I'm not too super tuned in now, but you'll see management. Matt Ferry posted on Slack recently, he's turning away people who want affiliate management for $1,500 a month. And a lot of agencies I talk to will charge north of 10,000, which can be totally reasonable. And that's in addition to all these vendors you might work with. So, and there's a huge range there too, right? So I'm astounded by how many of the small networks there are in, say, Shopify, well over 100. And some of those guys will have a freemium version. Some of them will charge $50 or $100 a month. That's probably bring your own piggy bank. You have to do your own payouts and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of the bigger platforms I've heard have minimums easily of $1,000 a month, plus sort of certain setup fees. Plus you're invisible in integration costs internally, et cetera. I know that can be very daunting if you're trying to sort of explore it from the outside. And one thing that I would offer as a word of encouragement to somebody who does have kind of like a startup, you can get a few hours from somebody like Jake, who's experienced, maybe even kind of help you out in a friendly manner, build a relationship. And it's almost like a home construction project then. Like if you know what you're doing or you're confident and you're not too worried about the results, the biggest cost you have is going to be labor. That can be your own labor if you're kind of like in that, Johnny on the spot, the owner, whatever role, but it is going to be all of your time too. You'll learn a lot. You can have some really great partnerships. You might get burned a few times though. Another reason to use an agency. And so I would probably, if you're really uncertain, talk to some platforms, try and get kind of like a cost range. The old range used to be 10% of this $5 million would be a $500,000 program per year. I think it's gone north of there. I was actually trying to look Impact just to release a study about this. I've seen numbers, 16% comes to mind. It could be 20, depends on how strict your program is, but there should be lift. And if you don't have a program, you are going to be leaving money on the table, and you should be able to manage that program profitably if your side is ready and you cross some revenue threshold. I could probably have a profitable affiliate program if I had like a $500,000 e-commerce company, by dialing everything down. So I'm sorry not to have a better answer. I think it speaks to the importance of this webinar topic, and you just kind of got to dive in and talk to people a little bit.
Well said.
I think to Eduardo's question there about like a smaller company with 50K work, like I think if you could allocate like 35, 40K for like part-time fractionalized affiliate management, whether it's to Brooke's point, like the owner doing it, or that's still a cost in your time. So like whether you're paying that out or eating it internally. That's one thing. And then like, 5-10K in like creative budget, creative work in tech, and then 5-10K of testing budget. Like you can run it smaller for sure when you're a startup. But that's how I would allocate it. Yeah, 50 to 60 in that range with the way I split it up right now.
Excellent. All right. That's about our time. I want to real quick 30 seconds from each one of you guys with our last question. And that is, if you're going to give a piece of advice to a CMO budgeting for affiliate in 2026, what's the one line item or guardrail you'd make non-negotiable?
Tech. Make sure your technical implementation is queued up, and if you're not investing in that, you're already behind the 8 ball for your program. So number one, tech, and right there next with it is the proper affiliate manager to take care of that program for you.
Great.
Yeah, I'd say two. One is investing in personalization, and the second one would be having a dedicated budget for building relationships. I think that could be a big needle mover.
Smart. Brooke?
So if we say there's 3 major channels, the walled gardens, the open web display, and affiliate, then there is no moat like the affiliate moat. You got to dig it and don't be lazy.
Outstanding. Hey, gentlemen, Brooke, Hafiz, Jake, really appreciate your time. Thanks for being here. For those folks that joined in, if you ever need any questions or have any questions about affiliate marketing and just want to talk to somebody, I'm your guy. Set up a 15-minute call with me and I'll point you in the right direction. Thanks for joining us today. Keep on recruiting and we'll see you out there.
Thanks, everyone.